Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to 1% Tribe on Sunday night. Hopefully you're all doing well. We had a great weekend. Got to take a few days off. I turned 50 this year and in February. So we went immediately and booked a trip. It was going to be up kind of in the almost up north. You'd call it in the upper part of the lower peninsula of Michigan, which is beautiful. If you've never been, I hate giving away our Michigan secrets, but Traverse City, any of those beautiful places. So we did depended on what we wanted to do. We wanted either hike or golf. Those are the two things. We ended up golfing a lot, and a little hiking in there too. So that was really pretty. We were in a place called Crystal Mountain, gorgeous. Got to take my family, who is the most fun in vacation. They are awesome. They understand when dad needs a nap, and then the day can go on, right? So, but we had a great time. Oh my gosh. And one thing, I'll have to give a dad moment, but my oldest has been trying and working hard at trying to figure out this golf thing. And she started poking it. And so we scored the best we ever have. So we'll do what they call a family scramble or best ball. I can't remember what the difference is, but there is a difference for you golfers out there between those two, but we just do best ball, right? So then that keeps us the flow going. You know, don't get frustrated. And yeah, we scored really, really good. So that was really fun to be successful. And it's such a tough course. Crystal Mountains is a gorgeous course in the woods. Beautiful. We did a little bird watching. It was glorious. And my office did amazing. They worked their tails off as usual and did all the alls. So it was really fun. Glad to be back and getting going on the garden stuff. A lot of times, this is where it gets nice because hopefully you've worked your tail off and got all your gardening done. Now it's just about the weeding aspect, right? And then that is one place, like I think everybody would agree, is getting a robot that can weed. That would be fantastic. That would be the next level. If they got lawnmowers that can do it, let's go after that robot that can weed. I think that'll be my next invention. But with that said, we got tons of rain, all those good things. So everything's starting to move pretty good. But tonight we're going to talk about good stress versus bad stress. Now, the reason this is so important is because it can transform how you look at health in general. And so what we're going to start with is the current thinking. So a lot of times what happens, especially in my experiences like chiropractic stuff, a lot of times you'll see people come in and in the sick care model, a lot of times they'll say, stop doing, this for the rest of your life. Let's use an example. Okay. You got arthritis in your knee. So we have this arthritis in our knee and we, as medical would be, just don't do, let's say you don't get to golf anymore. Right. And so we're going to talk about some stories on understanding how this stress happens and that there is actually good stress. And one of the things that really occurs is that we give up a lot of the things. It always brings me to this one story. I've started out here, but first, before this story, let me make sure I get on there. I almost forgot. Two things. One, I want you to subscribe to my newsletter, Tribe1, TRIB1.substack.com. It's free, but you get the show notes from each night, as a newsletter. So that's really cool. My hope is I start doing a little bit more with that. And a big thing is watch in the future soon. We're going to do a webinar, a big all day webinar on anti-inflammatory, chronic, maybe some different arthritis and preventing that, and those kind of things. So tribe1, trib1.substack.com is where you want to go for the free newsletter. Okay. The other one is thumb, like, subscribe, whatever you got to do on YouTube and Rumble. The Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on Rumble, and a Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on YouTube. Those both. You can follow us, of course, all the time on Facebook, X, all those. The problem is like you're not going to see the old videos. Like if you get on Rumble or YouTube and subscribe, then you can have the list of these videos later. I've subscribed. Once I learned how to do that years ago, now you can go back and listen, if you missed the live, which is going to happen because it's beautiful out, and it's going to get that way, later and later. So until the winter time, when 8:30 becomes a better time for you. So hopefully you're all enjoying the day. Here's the Rumble stuff. And then remember, just Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on Rumble or YouTube is what I'm trying to grow. YouTube, I'm up to like 31 people. I'm pretty pumped. Not going for anything crazy. But I'm up to 80 people. But here's the neatest thing. Here is the absolute coolest thing. On the podcast and Rumble, I'm almost getting like 10,000 views. So what that's showing me is like what I thought would happen and what I want to happen. I want people to want to listen to the content, right? No matter what it is, whatever show we're doing, I want to make sure there's enough information in there that makes it worth your time, you learn something. That is the entire process of this. Chiropractic is nothing without the patients that understand and start learning their human body, right? And that's why these are so important. So as you go, the more learning you do, the more you become the doctor, right? The more you allow the innate intelligence within us to actually become that doctor, the more empowering it is as we go. So I just wanted to add that to it, and let us get started on good stress versus bad stress. The word is Eustress for good stress, which is, some people don't even know there's stress, but there's actually good stuff. Okay. So we're going to talk about that today. So let's get beginning. So Eustress is the good stress. Okay. It's the good kind of stress. The exciting, energizing pressure that pushes you to grow, achieve, and feel alive. So think of this stress as in any facet. It doesn't have to be just physical stress. It could be, stresses in different areas. It sounds crazy, but like, let's say financial stress a little bit. There is that good financial stress, right? But we always look at the negative side. You can have good, really meaningful arguments. So like I love debating, and my office manager, Gina, is fantastic at understanding where I'm at. We're not arguing. We're fighting for the point, right? That's good stress, right? There's nobody's, feelings hurt, but we want to throw ideas out at each other. One of the things that I love doing, one of the reasons I like middle school robotics is we learned a long time ago to make these kids learn how to fight for their ideas, right? You're not fighting to be negative. You're fighting because you want your idea to be heard, right? And just saying it, and that's winning a participation trophy. We have to go through the grinds and the rigors in every facet of wellness, which is, mind, body, spirit, financial, relationships, physical situations. All of these things have some kind of good stress to them. And so what we want to do is, promote the good stresses while getting away from kind of the bad stresses, right? So in short term, it's challenging but manageable mindset, right? So it's a challenging but manageable mindset, not overwhelming, but like it challenges you in all these different ways, and it leaves you stronger after the fact. Think of it as this: these are the things that these good stresses come from training for a race or competition, starting a new project or business, public speaking or performing, preparing for a big life event like wedding, promotion, move, something like that, learning a new skill. This is something that I try to do, and I want to do it better. I was just telling Rachel on our vacation, I want to finish some of the little projects that I've done and do them to a really good perfection moment in like the world of art. Sounds crazy. I'm not the biggest artist, but I want to finish some of these cool projects. But unlike bad stress, right? This is the eustress, which is the good stuff. Unlike bad stress, or they call it distress, eustress activates your body's energy systems without overwhelming them. Your heart rate rises, your adrenaline flows, your focus will sharpen, and you often feel motivated and fulfilled. After the challenge passes, you recover quickly and usually feel proud of your accomplishment. So, one of the reasons that because we don't understand this topic, one of the biggest problems that you see in actively working out, I feel better than I ever have when I started understanding how to listen to my body. Some of the workouts I do are absolutely like it's intense, right? But at the same time, I understand that that's enough to kick it over the top. Understanding my rest days, to really, really do some rest in there, to not push myself through because I just have to finish it. Those are things that become bad stresses, right? So there's this really fine line. I always say, like, think of homeostasis, that wave that up and down, right? And we really get into, think of, when I say homeostasis, always think air conditioner in your thermostat, right? You want to set it at 72. It's going to move up and down from 72 degrees in your house, whatever, right? It's the moments that it's stressed out, and the engine's running, that it's a little harder. So let's say you start working out, but you work out almost too intensely. So then you're homeostatically kind of dipping and really working that engine. Like if your air conditioner is perfect, let's say you're in the AC and it rarely gets 90 degrees, let's say. So let's say 90 degrees, and then the air conditioner has to turn on and get it back down and get the temperature to 72 degrees. Well, that is going to stress it out a little bit more than if it was 78 all the time and you're just driving it to 72 degrees, right? Think in terms of how the mechanics of just the air conditioner would work. It'd be very simple, right? The same goes for a furnace, right? So if you're minus 50 all the time, right? Minus 50 in that kind of temperature, and then you're trying to get it to 72 degrees, then you're gonna wear out the system, right? So a lot of times that will create your engine, your furnace or your air conditioner to have to be used a lot more. And that's kind of the trick, right? So like in holistic health in general, the trick is that, right? So the trick is understanding we want to push our bodies in this certain flow. And the really, really good athletes figure out a way to really push themselves in that homeostasis where they recover well, where their performance actually goes further, right? So that's the beauty of a good stress, which is called eustress, EU stress, right? That eustress, and understanding that role and really fundamentally start understanding where you can go with that, right? And that's where a lot of your high performance athletes really focus on this part. Train enough, recover enough, eat enough, do all the things that get you the best performance out of the deal. And once you start understanding that stress is a good thing, Like this type of stress is a really good thing. It changes your entire your health paradigm, because you're told, in our sick care model currently is stop doing it and here's a pill, right? So stop doing it, here's a pill. That's not necessarily the greatest way to go about things. And that is what we're talking about tonight. Okay. So the science of stress, eustress versus distress. So that's how we'll say it tonight. So eustress, the good stress, distress, bad stress. The father of stress research, his name was Hans Seeley. He coined eustress in the 1970s. And the stress is the body's non-specific response to any demand. Eustress, specific, short-term, motivating within coping ability, exciting, leads to growth and fulfillment. Examples are exercise, starting a new project, public speaking, and preparing for a competition. Okay. Man, I was going to tell you guys a story from The Office. Now I can't remember. Oh, no. That's terrible. Okay. Maybe it'll come to me as we go. Distress, it's the negative. The negative stress is chronic, overwhelming, depleting, and leads to burnout and illness. The physiological differences, there's huge physiological differences in these two types of stress. They both activate the fight or flight, right? We heard that the fight or flight's the negative, but your body has the fight or flight mechanism because it's not necessarily a negative. It's only when it's overused in our day-to-day lives that it becomes a negative. But okay, so both activate the fight or flight response, but the eustress energizes without sustained high cortisol. So it's able to increase that fight or flight response and then be able to drop down to a normal resting parasympathetic, what they call system in that aspect. Distress is what keeps the body in the fight or flight response for a really long time. But the biggest thing is understanding that perception of this matters. And we're going to talk about we'll talk about an example. Perception. Remember, our bodies in epigenetics, our perception of our reality is a big part of how our cells of our body communicate, right? And so our perception is what drives the health and holistic pieces of who we are. And because of that, a lot of times it depends on what kind of stresses you're doing. So perception matters. The same event can be eustress for one person, good stress, and distress for the other. So let me give you an example of this. Rachel cracked me up because for years, she's always wanted to exercise and do all those kind of things. She never grew up with that genetic build. Like, so for me, when I started I got introduced to weightlifting, working out years ago, right? 50 years ago. No, probably not that. Probably 20 years ago. Yeah, somewhere there. About 40 years ago. Let's say it that way. 40 years ago, lifting was a thing. So weightlifting, exercise, those things, because I wanted to be a better athlete. Once I started getting into that role, the eustress, the good stress of a really good workout where you're fatigued at the end, was something my body accepted and liked. It actually, you slept better, you do all those things. Now, Rachel she did tons of physical, things, gardening, taking care of the house, doing all these things, but never got into the physical exercise piece. So for her, the genetic encoding, the program, right? The program wasn't built for exercise to be a fun thing, a eustress type environment. That's where perception matters. Once we figured out that her real go-to is like yard work, doing all those kind of cool things, gardening, chopping trees, drive me nuts on the chopping trees, chops them all, I swear. But anyway, but once she figured that out, she started gaining muscle really good. When we'd bring her to the gym, however, it was very stressful because it was just something that was not inherently not what she liked to do, right? And so then she started finding different ways to slowly, methodically start working exercise in, and she's noticed massive improvements in doing that. And so it's what you got to figure out the perception of the stress as well, right? So like I even said, like financial stress, right? So if you've had that friend that's like a millionaire or whatever, and they're like, oh, I tried this and it failed, right? And so some people would what they call, flail and be done with life, with something like that. And then you have other people that are be like, next time, right? They always make more of it. I'm not stopping, those kind of situations. For me, the programming was that you try things, you try all these things, and then if it was a failure, you really stressed out on the failure. Once I understood this different aspect of how to approach, the different stresses, it was like one of those things you're like, man, isn't it crazy that some of the biggest billionaire guys kept trying things because they loved this good stress of that attempt, even though they may have been failures and lost money at it. Like I was listening to this one podcast with a bunch of billionaires, and they were into what they call angel investing. And then they were, like they'd have out of, 6 that they would invest in, maybe 1 would be a home run, but it'd be a massive home run, like change your life kind of home run. And so one of the things that I got from that was it was wild, like listening to those little ups and downs and failure points and how they approached it, though. That good stress, like a lot of them had good stress around stuff like that, right? And it's just a whole different mindset. So look at the different areas. Are you stressed out? Is it always bad stress in every wellness category? So if you ever think about that, you have relationships, you have spiritual, you have the gamut of all the different stresses that could happen. Okay. So I almost had it. I thought I remembered the story I was going to tell you, but that one was a good one. So we're going to keep going. So that's the biggest thing, is understanding the perception of good stress versus bad stress. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of those stories. And I love these two because it's fantastic in the sense of, okay, this one happens a lot. This one, if I could give you I would be a rich man if somebody gave me $5 every time somebody said this. So Linda is not a real name, but we're gonna use that as the name. Linda was actually told that her back was so bad that she couldn't. I don't need the slide for this. I get it. So Linda was told that her back was so bad that no one could ever touch her low back again. Well, in the sick care model, I have a hard time with saying something like this because of the depth of the consciousness of an authority figure saying that there's like nothing you can do. Really put Linda in this situation into a point of absolute panic. She loved to garden. She loved to garden and, take care of grandkids, right? That was her big majors. This doc decided to tell her that she needs to never let anybody touch it, be very careful, always wear this huge back brace, all these things. So once we evaluated her at the office, I had to be that way. I said, I think I strongly disagree with this guy. This doc, I get, maybe he didn't actually say it. Maybe that's what she heard in her panic and anxiety, because her life was flipped upside down by him saying that, because she was like, all I'm doing is the stuff I love. She was a retired lady doing the gardening and all those things. She's like, I just thought, I could keep doing those things in retirement. When you look at that and the perception of that, oh yes, I remember what it is. I'll add it to this part of the story. But but once Linda and I talked about it, I go, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to introduce you to the chiropractic in a very gentle, really gentle way. We're also going to really go after exercises that allow you to do some gardening. We're going to see where we end up because, a lot of times the guy that she was going to see for the MRI and the testing and all those things, she wasn't going to see for another 3 months. So I said, why would we just stay home? Let's do something, right? Let's do something, maybe we can get somewhere. Maybe he's right. I don't know. Like as we go, it's the x-ray to me looked like something that she could definitely get out of. And it was serious enough condition, but unless it was emergency surgery, she walked out of the office. She went home. She had to wait 3 months to get the next procedure. I would say like you'd say that to a patient that, maybe you were going to do emergency surgery that day. Okay, that's fair. Absolutely fair. But if you're going to say, don't do anything ever again, and part of it could be Linda's like ultimate anxiety that she might have to have back surgery. We started slowly working on things as much as she could do each day, very simply, 2 minutes this day, 3 minutes the next day. Eventually, she's starting to gain confidence. It was not just the chiropractic aspect. It was having somebody along her side that we could get her to that 3-month appointment. That really was our only goal, is to get this big MRI that she's going to need. We're not going to, take it away. I'm not trying to get her out, get in this guy's way, especially when he's there. So what happened is like, she's feeling pretty good by the time the MRI arrives, about 3 months in. And remember, it took some time. It took a while. She was in the office for quite a bit, but she's feeling decent, right? So she's not perfect, but she's there. And so then she goes and she gets the MRI that was scheduled 3 months out. And then she's going to have another appointment with this guy another month after that, which is a whole nother story of how broken the system is. So anyway, so we do another month, and now she's feeling pretty good. So she goes into the doc, and the doc literally says, this is where I had to talk Linda out of, like, she was strong enough. I think she could have throat punched him after this happened. But he walks in and he's like, yeah, look at your chart. What are you here for? She literally said that to Linda. The reason I remember it was like, it's not common for this kind of situation to happen. And I swear to God, I thought Linda was going to throat punch the guy. But after it gets done, we have to go through another round, a very anxious situation that wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to Linda and anything. Eventually, she never ended up having to have back surgery. We just slowly walked it to that situation. It's not the case every time, but we have to be careful because I had to change the bad stress, the distress of her thinking she was never going to, be able to move her back again, to a place where good stress was happening, right? And so that's a really good one. And then the next one is Tom. So Tom was one, he's a known chiropractic for years, doesn't use it like he should. He should come in more often. He knows I pick at him all the time about that. But when I get him, I get him. So he's a snowbird and he flies down to Florida. So every year he does the same thing. He's in his 80s. And one of the things that happened with Tom is that he comes back early. I'm like, whoa, you're here in March. Usually he stays till like late April. He's like, no, I came back to see you. I go, why is that? He goes, well, you're the only guy I trust in give me a straight answer, but I can't golf anymore. I gave up golf a month ago. I think I'm done. I go, and I ain't getting any. And he's not a big surgical guy. He was in his 80s. He didn't really want to take that chance. He's like, I feel fine when I'm not golfing, but I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not doing the surgery stuff. It's like either you figure out something, tell me what to do. If we can get there, we can get there. I'm okay with not golfing again, but I really like it because of my buddies. So we go through, and I said, Tom, this time you're going to have to stick with me for a few weeks versus like get adjusted and then never show up again. So he does a really good job. He's like, deal. And I have him start working with me and my other chiropractor that was helping with his muscle balance and strength a little bit. 3 weeks goes by and he's doing pretty good. He's like, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. He's doing so well. His old habit came back and we didn't see him for a little bit. Right. So we were supposed to see him and then he forgot, blah, blah, blah. So one day he calls. This is like, so he did like 4 weeks straight, really good. And he's going, man, I'm feeling pretty good. Now you never know with Tom because I can't ever tell where we're at. So he ends up getting another appointment after. So 4 weeks goes, he skips 2, right? And then all of a sudden he shows up again on my schedule. I'm like, okay, Tom's either hurting pretty good or, I don't know. We'll see. Usually it's like, okay, he's hurting again. That 4 weeks of consistency really didn't get it there. And he goes, I came in for this appointment and I made this because I want to say thank you. And I'm like, thank you for what? He goes, I can play 18 holes. Ridiculous. And all it was sticking with it, with it for a longer period of time. And just getting that confidence in there, I can't believe it. Thank you. I'm back to doing 18. Now, this is the funniest part of the whole story. I'm like, all right, Tom, does that mean you're going to see me on a regular basis? Well, no. I'm still going to wait till I'm crawling. I'm still going to wait till I can't move anymore and see if you can do it. Another miracle. And he leaves the office and I'm dying laughing. I can't fix all of Tom's stuff, but it's one of those things that it makes you laugh because now at least he has this confidence. He knows what to do, in that thing. It was becoming a major stress, right? Golf was becoming a bad stress. And if we worked with good stress, chiropractic adjustments, muscle balancing stuff, we did a lot of those things to give him the good stress that would allow his innate intelligence of his body to get back to that place where he could golf again. So cool. But anyway, so I wanted to throw those 2 stories in there. I did figure out what I remembered. We'll see if I have time. I'll add the last story on because the Eustress thing is a very cool thing. Okay. Health benefits of good stress. It motivates, sharpens focus and performance. It builds resilience. Physically, it can improve cardiovascular health, boost the immune system with short bursts, okay? Enhance recovery, increases longevity when balanced. So remember, good stress, there's a certain limit, right? We don't want to overdo this because if it does, you start going into the category of distress. Distress doesn't allow your cells to thrive, and we want those cells to thrive. Biggest thing I've ever heard, your cells are either in growth or protection. Those are the 2 actionable entire cells. They're either trying to protect and survive or they're trying to grow. The idea of the Eustress is to put them in the moment, possibly of protection for a minute, and then get to where the cell wants to grow again. Okay. So mental and emotional for good stress, it can build some confidence. One of the biggest things I see, like as a young athlete's coming in to their own, confidence is a big one. You start stressing out these different areas. I'll use Allie's golf swing. So Allie started a long time ago trying and kept working at it. And that was a lot of good stress. And then she started poking that thing really far. And I was like, see, it builds that confidence because now she's put her body through that good stress in the practice and practice and practice. That's why all those things are so important. allows you to understand mastery. So you can get to a master level when you do those kind of situations. And you have positive emotions when dealing with stress. So, like for me, exercise, working out in the gym gets me to a positive emotion, really good for my brain, relaxation, those kind of things. Rachel, it's distress, right? In a gym setting, but you put me out in the yard, right? That might be more distress. And then Rachel's out in the yard and that's her go-to. So that's where the good stress comes in. Eustress for movement, exercise, supports spinal health, nervous system adaptability. Chronic distress tightens the muscles, misaligns the spine, and interferes with nerve signals. And that's why chiropractic and a lot of your muscle work, loosening up all that stuff, massage, like chiropractic adjustment helps so many things. And it's part of the stress. When you have a perfect communication to the rest of your body through your nervous system, that relaxes so much of that, the distress that could happen on top of understanding muscle movements, muscle memories can be fantastic as well. So, uh, so think about like somebody that trains for a marathon, right? That would be more of a good stress if they do it correctly, right? So I see a lot of people try for this marathon and they actually are stressing themselves, creating bad stress in their environment because they're on that line of just barely. It might be they want to push their body to the best good stress they can, but sometimes they go over. And then improved posture and energy is some other good stress. Desk job burnout leading to neck pain could be another, situation where you have this bad stress. Let's say your work is something you're anxious about, or, those kind of things. You learn, your neck might actually stress out and cause those different kinds of distresses. That is it for that slide. Let's go on to the next one. The dangers of bad stress, okay, and its impact on the body. Bad stress is something we have to reframe. Remember, perception is everything in all of these things. So when we listen to this, is it something that we can perceive differently that could actually help us? So chronic effects of bad stress, which is what we live through all the time, is weakened immunity, inflammation, poor sleep, digestive issues, anxiety, depression, and you actually age faster. Muscle tension would equal what we call subluxations in chiropractic. You get the spinal bones out of place, poor posture, your sympathetic nervous system starts being more dominant than that rest and digest parasympathetic, right? And all of those things lead to lack of healing. The stress hormones go crazy. So you hear about the cortisol stuff. What we try to do is try to drink our cortisol back when maybe we should be practicing the understanding between good stress and bad stress. Nervous system link, how distress disrupts the brain-body communication. Chiropractic adjustments can help restore those kind of things and shift us towards more of a parasympathetic, situation. Signs that you could be in distress instead of eustress or good stress. Persistent fatigue, irritability, headaches, frequent illness, tension in your neck and shoulders. Those are all really good signs of it. Okay, so now let's start talking about the practical steps that we can get to eustress and managing distress. Oh, yeah. Well, I want to make sure. Let me look. One thing I want to look at before we get into this. I want to see. I got to put it in the chat. If I did this right. Oh, come on. I'm trying something new. I created. Nope, that's not it. Oh, it's this one. With the help of this AI. Yes. Let's see if I can share it. Okay. We'll get to that in a minute. In the end of this video, I'm going to give you a little chart to go by. It's a little eustress versus bad stress chart that you can download and try it. Let me know if I do this correctly. AI helped me with that chart. I was like, oh, this is sweet. I cannot believe this one is so perfect for this talk. So I want to make sure I get it to you guys. So practical strategies. We're going to harness good stress and manage the distress. So we're going to harness the good stuff. So we want to shift our mindset. We want to change challenges into opportunities. This is exciting, not threatening, right? Daily habits. We want to movement and exercise as good stress. Let's do some breathing techniques, some mindfulness stuff, or short challenges. Don't overwhelm your system. It's fine. Chiropractic care, allowing your body to have perfect communication throughout your whole body. Huge, huge piece of what happens in chiropractic. It's like when people tell me, I almost don't understand why I feel so good, so differently. It's hard to describe sometimes when your spine starts getting into that framework, which is exactly perfect for what we want, right? We want that perfection of the body, and you kind of know what that feels like. Lifestyle, sleep, nutrition, social connections, and boundaries. So remember, this is not just about physical health. It's about sleeping right, nutrition, connecting socially, right? Instead of just, let's say you don't like people, right? I hear that one a lot. I don't like people. Find people you like and hang out. You need the social interaction. We all do. Boundaries. You want to make sure that you have those boundaries set, or else the stress of helping someone ends up being very paramount against you, right? So it causes that distress to happen. So what I would recommend is some adjustments. Start talking to, maybe your chiropractor and how to get this lifestyle different, like in that sense. Start shifting that mindset around. Combine this with like maybe some massage, some soft tissue, doing all those kind of things. And the big thing is, the reason I looked it up, there's a stress, the Google Doc I created is a stress audit that I want you to kind of walk through yourself and then see where you stand. Is it a good stress for you, or is it a bad stress for you? Okay. So that'll be at the end. Okay. So how do I turn work stress into good stress? Turning work stress into good stress, or eustress. Eustress is too hard to say. It's one of the most powerful mindset shifts for the listeners currently, especially chiropractors, office workers, and high achievers. The core piece is the same workload can either drain you, cause distress, or fuel you, causing eustress. And it's all in how you perceive it. Great example. Another one is we had a UPS driver. He's retired now. A UPS driver that would go to our office all the time. One of the coolest things, though, is he used the work that he was doing to be his workout. So he would come in, say hi, very cordial, 2.5 seconds, he's out the door. But he's moving at a pace where he's lifting the boxes correctly, using his legs, getting deep in there, raising him up above his head, doing all these things as work goes. Is there an opportunity to get your, body, instead of sitting in a chair all the time? Is there new exercises that you could potentially do? I'm going to do one for Rex in the Effects that he probably remembers telling me about, but we're going to do a web podcast on it and see how popular it is, because it's a pretty good concept, that what my dad came up with years ago, but I remember it to this day because it fits into this system as well. And this research shows that perception is everything in good stress versus bad stress. When you view a stressor as a challenge, right, you have the resources to handle it, and it will help you grow. Your body responds with better blood flow, more energy, sharper focus, and faster recovery. That is good stress. When you see it as a threat, it's overwhelming. It's the words you use, guys. It's the words. Overwhelming, uncontrollable, or likely to harm you. The cortisol stays elevated. So it reminds me of like video games. They started out as good stress, and now they're so intense. A lot of times they're actually causing the bad stress to happen. Inflammation rises, performance will drop. Studies prove that people trained to reframe stress as helpful report less anxiety, better test scores, higher productivity, and an improved long-term health. Okay. So let's reframe the situation at work. Okay. So we're gonna shift from this deadline is gonna kill me to this is an exciting challenge that will sharpen my skills and help my people, right? In my case, it's my patients, right? Uh, Write or speak about how the stressor can help you. A quick saying is believing exercise. This alone improves cardiovascular and cognitive responses. So when you're overwhelmed, write it down. See if you can reframe that overwhelmness, right? So I see it with teachers a lot. I'll be honest with you. Teachers, I think they get overwhelmed pretty good. I wouldn't blame them, with children in the room. But they have enough, you have children plus an additional, things. And I feel like if I could reframe where it's more exciting than it is the bad stress, it might help them a ton, in certain professions, I see it a lot. Different professions. It's just different each time, but some are worse than others. Nursing, teaching, some factory work, like those kind of things. But if you can actually align a different perception to what's happening, then life could be really, really good. Okay, make a healthy challenge you're excited about. Break big, overwhelming tasks into meaningful, achievable goals. Volunteer for projects that stretch you but align with your values. Pick something at the office or your work. Take the challenge on and see how you do with it. Because once you challenge your brain and use it like that, then it can be really, really good. At one time, I don't know if I naturally did this, which is kind of crazy. Naturally did this as a student. I remember in undergrad, I was taking organic chemistry and I got to this. I studied it so hard. I knew every answer. I swear. I knew every single answer. In fact, we'd have these study groups and I was like just rattling off stuff. Well, I got to the test and I absolutely went brain dead. It was the craziest thing. I can't remember. I passed. It wasn't great though. It was like a C- or something. And I just remember I didn't know how to frame testing because testing, you got this major anxiety and all those things. At the time, I was playing the college football. So one of the things I thought about, and it helped me a lot, was that I started taking it on as a challenge that I would if I was playing a certain team, right? So I could get up. I played at Kalamazoo College, so we had Albion College, which was down the road. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to attack this like I would be preparing for Albion College football. And so I'd get into this testing ability, and I would just attack it like that. And so all of a sudden, because I reframed, testing became more fun. Ergo, when I went to chiropractic school, a lot of times I thrived in the testing aspect. And a lot of it was reprogramming yourself to physically test yourself to do those kind of things. Okay. So remember that. As you go, just understand that, that good stress of learning new things, valuing all those things can help you at work, right? So challenge yourself, learn a new skill at work, invest in some training, some systems, work with teammates better. My challenge today is to work as a team to get this across the board. Now, one of the things about me playing football was I was a lineman. You had to rely on all your other teammates to make the play. A lineman, if you don't know, really doesn't touch the ball, and their goal is to either protect, from somebody, hitting your quarterback, or I was a defensive guy. I was to try to get to the quarterback, right? And if I didn't get there, though, I was to make sure I took up enough linemen or other players so others could get to that quarterback. That is a big part of what you could do in this in a challenge, at work. Even, if you're having trouble with your other coworkers, make it a challenge to get along with one of them and become a different team player for that one, just for the good of the cause. Okay, so here's some good stressors some new mindsets, right? Some new talking points. Replace "I'm so stressed" with "I'm energized and capable." Try "This pressure is proof I care about doing great work." Challenges help me grow stronger. Set boundaries, right? Set boundaries. Make sure that that good stress doesn't get to that point of bad stress. Take micro breaks. Walk between people. Walk between times. Disconnect after hours. Reward completed tasks. That's my favorite part. And audit and track your stresses, right? See if this is actually helping. You can, because a lot of times, if you can do this, you're going to notice your blood work's going to change drastically. Chronic distress tightens muscles, promotes poor posture, and keeps the nervous system in sympathetic overdrive, like we talked about. Good stress and regular adjustments, that's part of it. And other things like, good stress as far as exercise, regular adjustments, fixing up some muscle systems, massage kind of things, gives you better spinal mobility, faster recovery, and nervous system that can handle demands efficiently. You can literally get your body adjusted towards better stress responses. Okay. So next time work feels heavy, pause and ask, is this a threat or a challenge I can grow from? Which is really, really cool way to look at things. Okay. So let's do, I think this is it. Yeah. So this is our last thing. So what are we going to do for our 1% tribe this week? Thank you guys for hanging in there. I wasn't sure. I had a lot of slides, so I apologize. So, I was going to put in the comments, I'm going to put the link to that Google Doc. Hopefully it'll work. Hopefully, let me see what happens. Hopefully I can make sure it's, give the name, save. Okay. I don't want it to be anyone. There we go. Sorry, guys. I'm learning how to use this Google Doc thing. Cool. So that should work. So there's a little workout or a little worksheet for you. The big thing, I'm going to put it in the links of the YouTube video a little later as well. Big thing is like understanding that this worksheet is really good. So, okay. So the first thing is we're going to go week by week by week, because I know getting into the good stress mode is going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of work. So the first thing you want to do is reframe your mindset. Week 1 focus is catch your negative thoughts instead of "this is too much" to "this is a challenge I can grow from." Okay. How can stress make me better? How can this stress make me better? That's your first reframing. So now, so that's what you're going to do that first week. How can this stress make me better? Okay. So whatever it is at work, especially. All right. So, okay. So choose one good stress challenge in week 2. So start a new workout routine. Take on a work project that stretches your limits. Learn a new skill, a language, instrument, some cooking, doesn't really matter. And those are some other ones that you can do in week 2. And then build daily good stress habits. morning 5-minute challenge statement where how could the stress of the day make me better? During the day, do a 10-minute deep work, like look at this situation with the worksheet and do movement exercises 4 to 5 times a week, regardless of, like the level of it. Don't worry about the level. And then start tracking your wins, right? I think this one will take another seminar or a webinar on it, or a podcast on it. I think that will be fantastic. And then review and adjust. So the last week, you see how your energy and mood is going, just basically on reframing the stress that you have and seeing if you can take it on as a challenge. All right, I'm going to end it with this one. This last story that I absolutely adore, when he came in, and he was an avid bow hunter, super avid bow hunter. This is the first time I really noticed the difference. He was told that his shoulder was a mess, and it's going to take a lot of work to get the shoulder back to where he wanted to. What I heard, though, was, like as he's coming in, I said, so what does that mean for you? Like, can you live without your shoulder moving, or he's like, yeah, I got to wait for surgery, and it'll be, I got to do all this therapy and all those kind of things. And I go, good. Okay. So we're going to go into the therapy and maybe get this shoulder worked on. He goes, the biggest thing, Jeremy, is I just can't shoot my bow anymore. And this was a big stress for him. Like people, because sometimes people poo-poo whatever, but his was that bow hunting was his biggest joy. And so I said, why are we waiting? He's like, can't you adapt? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, couldn't you practice and like do something a little different, just in general, we got like 6 months, you can't hurt it much worse. It sounds like it's like all bone on bone and all this stuff. He's like, you're right. So we start working on it, and, like I'd see him, once in a while, but I give him multiple things to do at home that were within the wheelhouse of his shoulder working. There was some motion there, but it wasn't great. You know what I mean? So that's how it happens. So we start working it. He was so overwhelmed, he wasn't working at all for many months because he was afraid of what the doctor was going to say. So that made it actually worse, which was unfortunate, like that kind of thing. So we had to rework, those kind of things. So we worked a little bit each day, being able to pull back this bow. We started with, a very small weighted bow, and we just kept doing the exercise. By the time the 6 months came, where, he was doing the therapies as well. So me and him were just working on the bow side. He was going to physical therapy and they were working him. He had so much motion in there. He almost didn't want to do the surgery. Now I can't remember. This is the story that it's bugging me because I can't remember if he ended up getting they said he needed a full like replacement. If you ever seen those, it's like a reversal where, it's so crazy. The cup and the ball, they actually reverse. It's fascinating. I should show you guys that one. But anyway, some of those are really, really good surgeries. It's not that the surgery's not good. It's the approach up to that. He was so good. I said, well, have your orthopedic guy like evaluate your shoulder now that you put in so much work. And the orthopedic guy said, if because of his age, I think he's like, I think I would recommend doing it. But if you keep going on the path you're going, why don't we just see how far that shoulder can go? And, a year goes by, never had the shoulder surgery, comes in. He's like, Jeremy, I don't know if I'm going to need it necessarily. I'm like, that's really cool. But that's the kind of stuff that you can do when you understand good stress versus bad. He knew his limitation. He understood it. And he got in there and did some stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tonight. I went a little long because this was a cool topic. Hopefully we'll do another one on, a different aspect of the good stress versus the bad. Maybe doing a different reframing in each wellness category would be a really good topic as well. So with that said, don't miss me on Wednesday night, 8:30. We do Whole Health Weekly, where we go over various topics of the news of the week and see how we like our health transition as we go in this earth. So, with that said, I hope you guys have a great week. Find that stressor, download that document there, try it out, and then just reframe that stress. Maybe you can make it into something that your body innately enjoys and it actually improves each and every day. So, with that said, you guys have a great night. Have a good one.